Hello. I seriously hope I don't offend anyone in this video who falls into this large category of people that I'm about to talk about. However, it is my opinion that one of the biggest obstacles we face to breaking free of the whole COVID regime is that large segment of people who are taking a middle ground attitude towards it all. People who are not necessarily not lockdown fanatics, people who are not scared to leave their house, but people who are just generally conforming to the narrative. They watch the BBC News at 10 because they always have done. They believe that the likes of the BBC or ITV or Sky or the mainstream newspapers is giving trusted journalism, that it's the best information out there, and they generally are unaware or take little notice of any alternative voices because the BBC and the mainstream media will just dismiss them as crazy lunatics, conspiracy theorists, and they'll be rebutted by their so-called fact checkers. And these people will wear a mask in the shops just because they're told they have to, just to conform for an easy life, and because they think, well, it's being considerate, we're protecting others. Even though they cannot provide any actual evidence that a mask, a piece of cloth over your face, is protecting anyone, they'll believe it because the mainstream media says so, and because they generally believe that most scientists agree that we should be in this lockdown because that's what the mainstream media says, that's the consensus. So they'll dismiss the others that are trying to warn about this, the whistleblowers and that, and they'll say, well, they're just a minority. So, and I believe the majorities are right. That's the kind of attitude by a very large number of people. Now, the reason why this concerns me is because in the last week or so, the fear porn about this virus has been really ramped up in the mainstream media. New strains, new mutations, new variants, more and more cases, and trying to get more people to think there is this deadly virus and becoming more afraid of it and starting to get more critical about those people like myself who are saying it's not, who are defecting from the official narrative. And it really concerns me that these people, these middle ground people, whatever it is the BBC says, whatever they claim, they're going to believe, even when they haven't got any evidence for their claims, even when the claims are not backed with proof, except for this is what the majority says, so we better go for it. And this is a very, very worrying situation to be in. Because most people, if they think about it rationally, these lockdowns and these new tier restrictions don't make any sense. We know loads of people whose lives are being adversely affected by it in either small or more significant ways. And yet we don't know anyone, we cannot cite anyone who says they've definitely been saved by it, who can say that they would have died if it wasn't for all these COVID restrictions. So it doesn't make rational sense, and yet so many people will believe that this whole COVID regime with lockdowns and tiers and masks and all that is the right way to go because they are told that that is what the majority of scientists believe is the right thing. Never mind all the vested interests that all the government scientists have, and never mind the Great Barrington Declaration, where over 50,000 medical practitioners are saying this is the wrong way to go. Because the BBC and all that, they either don't report anything from the whistleblowers, or if they do, it will always be in a very negative, derogatory kind of way, trying to present them as cranks and dangerous conspiracy theorists. These middle ground people will believe that message. It really concerns me because how long can this go on for? And my challenge or question to those people who might identify themselves as very middle ground people is this: how much longer can this regime of lockdowns and restrictions go on for before you start to think there might be something fishy out there? Or how bad does it have to get? How more draconian do the restrictions have to get before you start to think, hang on a minute, are the BBC and the other mainstream media sources telling me the truth? Could it be that actually some of these guys that I dismissed as conspiracy theorists might have a point here? How bad does it have to be? Because my fear is this. Supposing they really amped it up even more, and let's just suppose for argument's sake, the BBC started saying we've got an overpopulation problem. Okay, the streets aren't too crowded all the time, but they keep telling us we have an overpopulation problem. So we have to all go up to a cliff and throw our grannies and our old people into the sea. Suppose that was the message that was being put out by mainstream media. Would you still believe what the BBC was saying? Would you still consider that to be trusted journalists if you had so-called expert scientists saying that we need to get rid of the old people, we need to literally kill people for the common good? I would hope that if it got that bad, then people would start to question the very news sources that they've been trusting for decades, and would start to think, hang on a minute, is there something fishy going on here? But the thing is that whilst the BBC haven't been literally telling us to kill our elderly people, they have been pushing a narrative which is encouraging people to do things that are bad for your health. It is self-evident that wearing a mask is bad for your health. A child knows that if you put earmuffs on your ears, you can't see so well. If you put goggles on your eyes, you can't hear so well. So if you cover up your mouth and nose, you can't breathe properly. That is self-evident. I don't need a doctor with a PhD to tell me that masks do not reduce oxygen intake and they are safe, because what I am saying is self-evident. And yet, the mainstream media are pushing people to say you have to wear a mask to protect others, even though no one can claim they were protected by someone else wearing a mask. No one can claim that my life was saved because so-and-so wore a mask. But people gradually are becoming ill, becoming weaker, their immune system's weakening, the brain weakens through oxygen deprivation. People might not notice it, but it happens. And you're being told to do that. You're being told to do things that are going to slowly kill you by the mainstream media. How bad does it have to get? I really want more people to break out of that cognitive dissonance. You might have been trusting in the BBC and other mainstream media for decades, but it's got so insidious now. We really need people to think, hang on a minute, can I seriously believe this message they're pushing? Maybe some of these alternative voices have a point. You've got to evaluate what you are seeing on mainstream media. And that is what we need to see, in my opinion, for us to get free of the whole COVID regime. We need more and more people taking that break from trusting mainstream media sources, seeking alternative information, and realising that the independent researchers is where you'll get your accurate news from. Thank you very much for watching.